Hi, everyone. Welcome to this parallel event sponsored by the Women's Federation for World Peace International. This is in line with the 2026 High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development, which is in the auspices of the United Nations Economic and Social Council. My name is Marivir Montebon. I am a journalist here in New York City, and I am so honored to be your host for this evening. We are going to tackle sustainable development on the ground. How impactful are we? And our focus are the three countries of the Philippines, the US, and Mexico. To formally open and welcome us here, I'd like to call the Women's Federation for World Peace International Vice President and the UN Relations Director for Geneva, New York, and Vienna, the indefatigable Ms. Merly Varlaan. Twin, welcome.
Thank you very much, our dynamic moderator. Hello, everyone, distinguished speakers, partners, community leaders, colleagues, and friends joining us from the US, the Philippines, Mexico, and around the world. Good evening from New York, and good morning to those joining us in Asia and in Europe and in Latin America. Early morning. On behalf of the Women's Federation for World Peace International, the UN Relations Office, it is my honor to welcome you to this HLPF, the High Level Political Forum 2026 parallel event. The topic is on best practices and key challenges of sustainable local communities. We gather under the HLPF theme Transformative, Equitable, Innovative, and Coordinated Actions for the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its Sustainable Development Goals for a Sustainable Future for All. This theme calls us to move beyond isolated projects towards integrated solutions. Water, energy, infrastructure, sustainable cities, and partnerships are deeply interconnected. Progress in one area strengthens the others, while failure in one undermines the whole. Today, our distinguished speakers will share experiences from the government, diplomacy, environmental leadership, urban resilience, innovation, women leadership, and community development. We expect to hear both what is working and what still prevents us and the local communities from becoming more inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. And our central question is simply but important, which is how impactful are we? Impact is not a measure only by the number of programs and implemented policies adopted or meetings convened. It is measured by whether people are experienced and we experience safer communities, stronger livelihoods, better services, greater participation, and improved capacity to withstand environmental, social, and economic shocks. Through today's exchange, we hope to identify practical approaches that can be adapted and expanded. Resilient infrastructure, local innovation, inclusive planning, environmental stewardship, community participation, and stronger partnerships among governments, civil society, women's organizations, academia, business, and the local communities. WFWPI holds general consultative status with the Economic and Social Council since 1997. Our organization was founded in 1992 in Korea by the Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, with the national chapters in 128 countries. Through our UN relations offices in New York, Geneva, and Vienna, we work to connect global commitments with local realities and to advance the role of women not only as beneficiaries, but as decision makers, innovators, peace builders, and partners in implementation. We extend our heartfelt appreciation to our distinguished speakers for generously giving your precious time and sharing your knowledge, your experiences, and expertise. Your contributions make this an international exchange both meaningful and actionable. We hope this event will generate new collaboration, shared learning, and concrete follow-up. May today's dialogue help us move from discussion to coordinated action, from promising initiatives to sustainable systems, from global goals to measurable improvements in people's lives. Thank you to our speakers, moderator, partners, and organizers, and special mention to WFWP Philippines. Kudos to your work, and thank you for co-sponsoring our event today. Once again, welcome, and may we have a productive and inspiring discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Marilee Barlaan. That was truly inspiring and heartwarming to know the level of work that Women's Federation has been doing. We are a powerhouse of speakers tonight, and I will begin introducing our first speaker. He is our senior consultant and advisor for diplomacy for Women's Federation for World Peace International, no other than Ambassador Mario De Leon Jr. He was the Philippine Consul General in New York and covered 9 other northeastern states from 2011 to 2016. Before he retired from government service in 2017, he was the Assistant Secretary for Financial Management Services and Chief Coordinator for the Foreign Secretary at the Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs. He was appointed Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary in Pretoria, South Africa, where he was accredited to 9 other Southern African countries from 2010 to 2011. He served as Minister and Consul General in London, UK, with concurrent status in Ireland and Iceland from 2000 to 2006. He was also posted at the Philippine Mission to the United Nations in New York and the Philippine Consulate General in San Francisco. Ladies and gentlemen, to speak to us about to update us about the Hlpf that just concluded today, and to give us his thoughts on sustainable development, please welcome Honorable Ambassador Mario De Leon Jr. from New York. Hello, Amba. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me? Yeah. Well. Anyway, I'd like to thank WFWPI for inviting me as a speaker here. I just want to clarify that my role here is primarily just to give an overview of what transpired during the Hlpf 2026. Just a general overview based on just one day that I was there yesterday, and at the same time monitoring the adoption of the ministerial declaration today. Okay, I'll start with my observations, primarily from the VNR, or the Voluntary National Review, that were presented by several countries yesterday. Well, one of the outstanding, I will mention about 5. One of the outstanding observation I got is that local implementation is the true measure of SDG success. A recurring theme among the VNR presentations was that the real test of SDG implementation occurs at the local level, where national policies are translated into concrete programs and services. So that's number 1. Number 2, the international community must move from commitments to delivery. Many delegations stress that the ultimate measure of the 2030 agenda will not be the number of declarations or commitments, but the tangible improvements experienced by people on the ground. Number 3, innovative development financing has become indispensable for achieving the SDGs. A recurring message throughout the VNR presentations was that the traditional sources of development finance are no longer sufficient. We have to look at innovative financing mechanisms, including blended finance, stronger domestic resource mobilization, digital financial innovation, public-private partnership, and of course, the sustainable and green finance, among others. Well, the 4th one is something that all of us know. Of course, better data are indispensable for effective implementation. The VNRs reaffirmed this principle that what is not counted cannot be effectively measured or managed. I mean, that speaks for itself. And of course, the 5th one is something that's very current. Geopolitical instability continues to threaten SDG progress, not to mention technology and AI disruptions. Okay. Several interventions recognize that the ongoing conflict in the Middle East and the broader geopolitical tensions and technological developments generated significant economic impact. Of course, the conflict has particular economic spillover, particularly through higher fuel, energy, food, and transportation costs. No less than the ASG for UN DESA, I would say, summarized this morning's program this way. He said that as far as countries are concerned, there is no single path towards accelerating SDGs towards 2030. I think he mentioned four foundations, which are very critical for all countries and which were mentioned by most of the VNRs and some BLRs. That is, we need strong institutions. Number two, we need reliable data, which I mentioned earlier. Number three, effective local leadership. And number four, partnerships. I'll be dwelling to that later. So allow me to go into the topic that was really assigned to me in the first place, which is, of course, I need to share. Is Marivir, can you just help me here? I have a presentation.
Feel free to share. Do you see the share button on your Zoom?
Yeah, wait. Can you see that? Oh, wait.
Yes.
Sorry, I just have to go to the first page. Okay, I'm calling it Rebuilding Forward, Central Visayas and the Test of Resilience, particularly in relation to best practices and key challenges of sustainable local communities in the Philippines in relation to SDG 9, which is all about infrastructure, resilient infrastructure, SDG 11 about smart cities, and SDG 17, which is about partnerships. Now, why Central Visayas? Why now? I mean, I chose Central Visayas primarily because of what happened last year during the last 4 months, where there were two big natural disasters that hit the region. You know, it is very important to see how that particular natural disaster, the twin natural disaster, impacted on the region, particularly in relation to achieving SDG 9, which is resilient infrastructure, SDG 11, sustainable cities, and SDG 17, partnerships. Now, let me just give a regional snapshot. I hope that the assistant director, regional director of DepDev will bear me out on this. Central Visayas is the fourth largest regional economy in the Philippines. That means it's quite wealthy. It has a gross regional domestic product as of 2025 of 1.32 trillion. That's roughly around 22 billion in US dollars. That's regional GDP, okay? Its growth is 3.7% in 2025 over 2024, despite the twin disasters. And it is, the first there means it's the largest urban economy outside Luzon in terms of financial institutions, industrial organizations, and logistics. So I just clarified that, okay? Now, let me go now to the particular phenomenon that I would say that redefined resilience, 5 weeks that redefined resilience. On September 30, 2025, an earthquake with a magnitude of 6.9 hit northern Cebu, particularly Bogo City. It affected 754,000 people or 218,000 families with 72 confirmed casualties or fatalities in Cebu alone. Now, in November 4, 2025, just 5 weeks after, Typhoon Tino, international name Kalmegi, brought cataclysmic floods to Cebu in Central Visayas and in the whole region. At least there were 150 confirmed fatalities, 79 remained missing, and 4.2 million people were affected. So that's a lot of damage that happened. About 186 million homes were, no, I think 186,000 homes were damaged. Now, November 25, moving forward, the province of Cebu was in a state of calamity and estimated Philippines 19.2 billion budget is needed to rebuild or to restore what has been destroyed. And in May 4, 2026, 6 months after, the state of calamity was lifted and shifted to long-term recovery and rehabilitation. Now, what I want to say is because of what happened here, we can now go into analyzing SDG 9, which is all about building resilient infrastructure. I'll have to be very candid about what happened. Here, we have to rebuild smarter, not just faster. Now, some of the challenges exposes are the following. Power lines were down, dozens of plants stripped offline across the grid. Days-long loss of electricity and signal in hard-hit towns. Infrastructure built for what I would say is a regular climate than the ones we now faced, of course, a lot of problems. And in terms of direct infrastructure damage, a total of about 1.98 billion in pesos, or roughly $320 million, were incurred. Happened, right? So how do you approach that? Best practices have been emerging. I think in the last 6 months, since everything was practically went back to normal, the Bantayan solar plant, which has 150 megawatts, will be providing clean power for so many residents, right? About 300,000 residents. Now, a new battery storage in Mactan Economic Zone is already being planned to stabilize the grid. Now, substation and transmission expansion across Cebu are under expansion, are being built. And the regional council or the regional development council now requires nature-based, people-centered design standards for all future public infrastructure. So as you can see here, there were challenges that were exposed primarily because of governance issues, but at the same time, there are pipeline projects, which I would say are best practices that would address the issue of power, that would address the issue also of building in the future. Okay, let's move now to SDG 11. Now, SDG 11, which is about sustainable cities and communities, revealed what I mentioned earlier, governance issues, not just the weather. A national reckoning is right now being felt in the Philippines. A government investigation that covers about 26.7 billion pesos, or that's roughly about 445 million US dollars in flood control funding released to Cebu. But that's of course over a period of 10 years from 2016 to 2025 has practically been problematic because the flooding continued to hit, and this is more about, of course, flood control funding. Well, civil societies and provincial officials are demanding answers. Now, urban failure pattern. Local planners warn Cebu risks the fate of cities like, of course, not only Jakarta, but also cities like Metro Manila, unless it moves from fragmented fixes to disciplined, unified master planning. Restoring rivers, floodplains, and watersheds. And lastly, a safer standard going forward. After the earthquake, scientists identified a previously unmapped active fault beneath Bogo City, which was the epicenter of the earthquake. And this prompted review of seismic codes and retrofitting of all pre-2001 structures. So it revealed governance issues, but at least a safer standard going forward is being looked into. That's one of the lessons. Now, partnership for the goals. This is where I think there is success. As you know, in the Philippines, there is a structured command chain. There is an NDRRMC at every level. NDRRMC stands for the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council. And it is present in 3 levels of government. National, primarily through the Office of Civil Defense, DND. And it is the one that declares national calamity to unlock funds, impose price control, and of course, streamline nationwide assistance. Then you have the regional. I think it convenes national agencies, LGUs, and partner organizations across the region. It is, of course, very important that the region oversees also the coordination. And you go to the lowest level, of course, which is the provincial. In this case, it's Cebu province. City, we can talk about Cebu City, and municipal MDRRMOs. That's a tongue twister. They're the ones responsible for activating red alert protocols, rapid damage and needs analysis teams, and evacuation operations. Of course, and this is something that we learned here, and I think many of the delegations I've heard yesterday mentioned this, no single actor can rebuild alone or can act on any of the SDGs. No? Of course, in the case of the Philippines, you have the national agencies, 14 local governments, the private sector, primarily the chambers of commerce, and of course, civil society and global partners. And with this, I will mention, of course, the international organizations like ICRC, CARE Philippines, and the International Organization for Migration. There was an existing network that existed way back during Typhoon Yolanda or Typhoon Haiyan in 2013 that knew how to work together. And so the Philippines has been quite experienced in this kind of approach when it comes to partnership. Now, to the question that was asked earlier by Ms. Murdy, how impactful are we? I would say that we are impactful where national, local, and private actors move in the same direction at the same time. Funds are coordinated across sectors rather than siloed. This is a problem still in the Philippines because NDRRMC is composed of several departments and they have their own budget. So it's not controlled only by one, okay? And lastly, rebuilding targets long-term resilience, not just restoration. And so we fall short, when funds are released slowly against urgent needs. Projects are built without regard for flood plains beneath. Emergency response usually outpaces long-term planning and accountability. So what I'm saying here is what happened in Cebu, particularly the flooding, I think it's a result of building that didn't take into account the natural condition of the island itself. So what is the best practice worth sharing as a result of this? Recovery is most powerful not when it rebuilds what existed before, but when it builds what should have existed all along. I think this particular phrase has been in a slogan way back in 2013 when we experienced Typhoon Yolanda, that very devastating typhoon, wherein they said that we should build back better. Now, let me go now to what this means for Wfwpi chapters. First, I think the chapters need to model the coordination. You can use the Central Visayas approach of national, local, private, civil society, academia model as a template when it comes to local recovery and developmental efforts. Number 2, Try to champion long-term over short-term, easier said than done, of course. That could be an advocacy. And of course, for development financing, that is very critical. And lastly, try to carry the story or the narrative into the Hlpf review discussions when you try to deal with your host governments, particularly in relation to SDGs 9, 11, to make it grounded in a real world case study. So that's all that I can say about the experience of the Philippines when it comes to challenges, and at the same time, particularly for Central Visayas and some of the success stories. In ending, I would just like to go back again to Hlpf 2026. You know, as Hlpf 2026 concludes, the true measure of success will no longer be the declarations we adopt, but the concrete actions we deliver in our communities before 2030. But I want to emphasize that the ministerial declaration provides a common platform for governments, for civil society, women, youth, families, and the private sector to transform global commitments into measurable local impact through genuine partnerships. And for Wfwpi, this is both an invitation and a responsibility to help bridge global policy and community actions by building a culture of peace, which is what we're doing, strengthening families, empowering women, and demonstrating that sustainable development begins with people and partnerships. So, maraming salamat po. Thank you. And I look forward to hearing all the other speakers.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Mario De Leon Jr. That was a extensive and deep dive presentation of sustainable development and the lessons that we have to learn and implement in order to be truly sustainable, especially in Cebu. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is the Assistant Regional Director of DepDev. DepDev used to be the NEDA, or the National Economic Development Authority of the Philippines. Evelyn Nacario Castro is also the Secretary of Central Visayas Regional Development Council. Oh, Amba, you can already stop sharing your screen.
Stopped.
Yeah, and so we can go back to there you go, screen mode. Thank you. So prior to joining the government, Ms. Evelyn Nacario Castro worked with civil society organizations and served as consultant and advisor of local government units, research and development groups undertaking studies, programs, and projects in various regions in the Philippines. She is a development practitioner with 3 decades of engagement in sustainable development arena. As a convener, she organized the Impact Foundation. This is ideas mobilizing people to act in the community together, and the multi-sectoral advisory group to help local governments, health and welfare organizations, and communities to address needs brought about by emergencies, calamities, COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 to early 2022. In her previous position as Executive Director of the Eduardo Aboitiz Development Study Center and Vice President of Governance and Linkages of the Ramon Aboitiz Foundation, Incorporated, one of the biggest nonprofit foundations in the Philippines, she conceptualized, directed, among other initiatives and programs, the implementation of youth leadership and citizenship development, an exchange program anchored on the UN Millennium Development Goals. So she is not a stranger to SDGs as well. So also, I'd like to tell everyone that in my being a journalist in Cebu, ARD Evelyn Nacario Castro was the one who really mentored me to truly understanding watersheds, communities of trees. We need to support them because they support the lives of everyone. So perhaps ARD has not remembered that, but I remember that, and that has sustained me in my coverage for environment issues. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome ARD Evelyn Nacario Castro.
Thank you very much, Ms. Maravir. Thank you to the Women's Federation for this opportunity and privilege to be with you this morning. I'd like to really thank Ambassador De Leon for making a very good presentation focusing on Central Visayas. Very well done, Ambassador. In fact, you have provided really the latest figures and, of course, the situationer from Cebu and Central Visayas for that matter. So for everybody, good morning from the Philippines, Cebu, maayong buntag sa tanan. First of all, and once again, thank you to the Women's Federation under Ms. Merly Balan and the rest of the leadership of Wfwpi. So it's as difficult as DepDev for inviting the Department of Economy, Planning and Development, Central Visayas Regional Office. We call it DepDev now. It sounds like DepEd. It's not.
Correct.
This international side event aligned with the UN Economic and Social Council's high-level political forum on sustainable development. So we're going international. Thank you. The key question posed to us is how impactful are we? Best practices and key challenges of sustainable local communities. By way of context, allow me to briefly situate our audience to where I'm working and residing and where our area of responsibility is. As I'm speaking to an international audience, allow me to bring you to the Philippines. Situated at the eastern edge of Southeast Asia, the Philippines is a dynamic archipelagic nation that serves as a vital maritime crossroads and one of Southeast Asia's fastest growing economies, driving resilient, sustainable development. In fact, in 2023 and through early 2024, the Philippines recorded the fastest economic growth among its key ASEAN 6 peers. It's posted at the time a strong GDP growth of 5.6% in 2024, ranking third in Asia. For 2026, we all know that growth forecasts differ due to rising inflation and global energy shocks. To Central Visayas, the focus of my presentation, it's one of the 18 regions of the country, strategically located at the geographical heart of the Philippine archipelago. It is a dynamic region comprising the provinces of Bohol and Cebu. There has been this change with the issuance of RA 12,000, which administratively carved out the provinces of Negros Oriental and Siquijor from what used to be Central Visayas. It serves as the nation's vital maritime and aviation gateway, connecting the northern and southern island groups, while positioning itself as a premier global powerhouse for tourism and hospitality, maritime trade and shipbuilding, and IT BPM services. As the largest regional economy outside Mega Manila, and as mentioned by Ambassador De Leon, one of the fastest growing regions in the Philippines, Central Visayas plays a pivotal role in driving national development and showcasing pathways towards sustainable local progress. In the invitation, the Women's Federation asked me to speak on the 3 SDGs, particularly for Central Visayas, SDG 9, SDG 11, and SDG 17. To respond appropriately to my assigned topic today, my talk will revolve around the work that we do at the Department of Economy, Planning and Development, the primary policy planning, coordinating, and monitoring arm of the Philippine government. Our context is national and regional, spatial, strategic, and long-term, as the organization formulates and tracks the country's continuing 25-year strategic development framework. And as shown on the screen, we are responsible for strategic policy and planning, public investment programming, and monitoring and evaluation. As part of our core function, we have completed the midterm update of the Central Visayas Regional Development Plan 2023 to 2028. The plan centers on achieving rapid economic recovery and deep structural transformation to improve the lives of Central Visayans. It is summarized by these core strategic pillars: economic and social transformation, poverty reduction and quality job creation, sectoral modernization and innovation, human capital and resilient infrastructure, and alignment with the long-term vision of Ambisyon Natin 2040 of a prosperous, comfortable, and secure life for all, while directly contributing to the global 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. The Central Visayas Regional Development Plan is our blueprint, our roadmap charting our course towards economic and social transformation, inspired by the country's vision, Ambisyon Natin 2040, of a strongly rooted, comfortable, and secure life, and aligned with the Philippine Development Plan. It is built on these 3 pillars. First, developing and protecting capabilities of our people and families. Second, transforming our production sectors to create quality jobs and competitive products. And third, fostering a vibrant, enabling environment. Moving to our core regional strategies, the Central Visayas Regional Development Plan drives progress across three primary pillars. First, boosting economic complexity and industry readiness. We are actively implementing the Tatak Pinoy, Proudly Filipino Act, alongside the 2026 Strategic Investments Priority Plan, building strong industry, government, academe alliances for technology and innovation, and establishing ready for occupancy zones to attract light industries. Second, building resilient infrastructure and water security. We are integrating master planning for all infrastructure, strengthening project implementation, coordination, and scaling up water and sanitation projects, which includes utilizing irrigation dams to secure our water supply. Third, protecting our assets and local planning. We are capacitating our protected area management offices while enjoining local governments to update their comprehensive land use plans to ensure sustainable, aligned, and future-proof growth. So, in fact, the twin disasters last year really becomes also an impetus for the local government units to revisit their land use and development plans. To provide the long-term spatial framework and as an anchor for our regional development goals, translating them into physical reality, the Central Visayas Regional Physical Framework Plan 2026 to 2050 serves as our long-term spatial blueprint, guiding land use and infrastructure to build cities and human settlements that are inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Drawing inspiration from Puso. I guess people from the Philippines, particularly from Visayas, would know what Puso is. This is the hanging rice. The picture on the slide will show you. This is the metaphor for this regional physical framework plan. The Puso network serves as a spatial development framework, and the map on the left shows the conceptual development of this network. Beyond its physical form, Puso carries deep cultural meaning for Central Visayas. It is associated with communal eating, shared spaces, and everyday exchanges in markets, ports, and carinderias. These are the same spaces where economic and social interactions naturally occur. The Puso network promotes balanced, equitable, and inclusive growth by strengthening major growth centers while intentionally weaving development opportunities across minor, satellite, and local growth centers, transportation growth nodes, and island communities. Rather than concentrating growth in a single core, the framework decentralizes economic activity through a network of interconnected centers and nodes, allowing development benefits to flow across the region. This strategy is encapsulated in the term decentralized concentration. This map shows the technical illustration of the Puso network, consisting of existing and potential connections, growth centers, and functional roles. The physical structure of Puso provides a clear analogy for the regional spatial network. Its pyramid form, created by interwoven coconut leaves, represents a polycentric regional structure where multiple centers support and reinforce one another, promoting decentralized concentration. So as you see on the map, there are three axes: the North Cebu, South Cebu axis, the South Cebu Bohol axis, and the Bohol Cebu axis. Together, these axes form a stable structure where no single node operates in isolation. Major urban centers act as engines of growth, while secondary and tertiary centers function as alternative development nodes that absorb spillovers and extend opportunities outward. The development of and implementation of key strategic projects are mostly connectivity in nature to help interconnect the various nuclei of settlements, forming a physical network and facilitate decentralized concentration. The next aspect of planning is in terms of infrastructure. We focus on our high-impact infrastructure flagship projects designed to lay the physical foundation for sustainable, well-connected communities and robust regional industries. We have major projects underway. This includes the Cebu Bus Rapid Transit, the new Cebu International Container Port, the upgrade, expansion, operations, and maintenance of the Bohol Panglao International Airport, a PPP project that will expand passenger capacity to address current congestion. In the pipeline, we also have transformative projects like the Cebu-Mactan Bridge, Fourth Bridge and Coastal Road. And this will directly improve access to the Mactan-Cebu International Airport and shorten travel time. Moving into our industrial sector, Central Visayas is positioning itself as a high-value manufacturing and logistics hub, leveraging our robust maritime infrastructure to drive regional production. To support this growth spatially, our regional physical framework plan designates and protects strategic industrial sites, ensuring businesses have direct access to well-planned, sustainable economic zones. We are also fostering a highly competitive business climate by actively implementing the Create More Act and promoting green energy transition policies to lower operational costs and attract long-term global investors. Having established our development framework, we now transition to the cornerstone of our strategy, mobilizing multi-stakeholder partnerships to turn these plans into localized, sustainable action. To address our most critical gaps, we have instituted the Central Visayas SDG Catch-up Plan, a targeted framework designed to directly accelerate progress on our 10 lagging SDG indicators. We, of course, recognize, and as mentioned earlier by Ambassador De Leon, that we cannot do this alone. No one can actually do this alone. So real progress also happens on the ground, which is why we are actively advocating the localization of these global goals by integrating them directly into the plans of regional line agencies, local government units, and civil society and private sector organizations. To promote ownership and accountability, we back these efforts with a work plan, including a tracking mechanism to keep our recovery on track. We have engaged more than 60 civil society and private sector representatives in the organization of the Stakeholders Chamber on the SDGs. Including achieving the 2030 agenda requires collective resolve. We have encountered and continue to encounter challenges, but we are moving forward and making progress. And we invite our international partners to collaborate with us as we build a more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable Central Visayas. Daghang salamat to all the audience of this World Wfwpi event. Good morning.
Thank you very much, ARD Evelyn Acario Castro. That was a very deep presentation as well. So ladies and gentlemen, please post your questions in our chat box. I would like to acknowledge some audience on our social media. Thank you to Ms. Antoinette Osmeña for watching. And please, you may ask your questions as well, Ms. Antoinette Osmeña. And now our third speaker represents Southeast Asia. She is Ms. Ivana De La Torre. Ivana is a Southeast Asia Regional Development Strategist and founder of Kaya Roy. She has over 25 years of experience across public, private, and development sectors, where she works at the intersection of circular economy, systems change, public health, and institutional transformation. She advises governments, companies, and communities on building practical solutions that align policy investment, logistics, and citizen behavior to create long-term economic and social value. She is also Chief Curator of HERD, a platform advancing female leadership across Southeast Asia as a driver of stronger institutions and more competitive economies. She used to be she has senior leadership roles with Coca-Cola, Sanofi Philippines, Asia Group Advisors, and APCO Worldwide, and served as Vice Chair of the Coca-Cola Foundation Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Ivana De La Torre. Ivana, thank you for joining us tonight.
Good morning, everybody. Let me just share my screen. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks, Maribel. Again, good morning, distinguished delegates, colleagues, and friends. Thank you to Women's Federation for World Peace International for convening this very important dialogue alongside the high-level political forum and for ensuring that there are regional and local voices at these global stages. As someone who has worked across Southeast Asia in sustainable development and female leadership, I'd like to share one observation that has fundamentally changed how I think about sustainable development goals. So we've read the report. The Secretary General's report reminds us that only 36% of measurable SDG targets are on track or making moderate progress. Nearly half are progressing too slowly, while 15% have regressed since 2015. We have less than 5 years to deliver on the 2030 agenda. And again, for someone working on the ground, the reality that we see is we don't have an innovation deficit, we have an implementation deficit. And here's why Southeast Asia matters. Southeast Asia is home to 11 sovereign states and nearly 690 million people. Collectively, we form one of the world's largest economies. If the SDGs are to succeed globally, they must succeed in regions like ours. What we've learned, though, is that there is no single development model. Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, and the Philippines, and all the other markets or countries in the region all succeed in different ways. There is no Southeast Asia model. There are, however, Southeast Asia shared lessons or learnings. Singapore teaches us that sustainable development depends on institutions. Its greatest strength is not simply good policy. Let's take, for example, Singapore's Tuas Nexus, which reminds us that the circular economy is not about managing waste more efficiently, but it is about redesigning systems so that waste from one process becomes a resource for another. It is the ability to translate policy into execution through long-term planning with great detail, coordinated government, and institutional continuity. Good governance in Singapore is not just an event, it is a total system. Indonesia reminds us that implementation happens locally. This is a picture of recycled installation in Bali. They have 38 provinces operating under a decentralized system. National policies only succeed when local communities make them work. Community initiatives such as the Bank Sampa demonstrate how local innovation can support national sustainability goals. National policy succeeds or fails locally. Thailand teaches us the value of institutional investment. And a lot of the investors that are based out of Thailand are also investing in circularity in other countries in the region, such as the Philippines. Thailand reminds us that the circular economy is not simply about recycling. Through its biocircular green economy model, it has positioned circularity as an economic development strategy, linking agriculture, manufacturing, innovation, and sustainability into an entire national framework. Strong institutions are built over decades and not just election cycles. And here is home, the Philippines, which presents us a different lesson. We are an archipelago of 7,600 plus islands and more than 42,000 barangays. We have no shortage of ideas and talent or even civic energy. Our challenge is in ensuring that strong policies consistently become strong implementation. That is our biggest gap. One example that has inspired many Filipinos is Pasig City under Mayor Vico Soto, who champions good governance. What stands out is not only that projects are delivered, they're budgeted well, there is fiscal planning. It is also the renewed belief that transparent, accountable government is possible. Hope begins when citizens believe and see that institutions like Pasig City can change. When we think about infrastructure, we usually imagine physical infrastructure like roads, bridges, and energy. But sustainable development also depends on another kind of infrastructure, public trust. Public trust is development capital. And without it, even the best policies struggle to succeed. This is our work through the Circularity Network under Kaya ROI. We are supporting Pasig City's ongoing Circularity Champions Lab. It's a multi-sector approach. You see here youth leaders, homeowners associations, barangay leaders, and even private sector representatives. And it's led by the city government. But even with this, one lesson continues to emerge, that the biggest barrier is not awareness. It is whether people believe the system works. Our research found that lasting behavior depends on visible system credibility. One sector of the system might be doing a really good thing, but if they see that the rest of the system is broken, they're eventually going to be discouraged and going to discontinue the good things that they are doing. We're seeing that people participate when collection, in this case in circular economy, is reliable, when rules are consistently applied across the entire system, when institutions earn trust. Therefore, behavior follows systems and not just awareness campaigns or slogans. The SDGs are integrated because communities and families experience life in very integrated ways. Waste is connected to health, health to livelihoods, livelihoods to education, climate to governance. Communities and families do not experience problems in silos, and therefore our programs should also not be experienced in silos. And this is why, for us, SDG 17 matters the most. Partnerships are not simply another goal. They are the mechanism that connects finance, technology, policy, and people into functioning systems. Without partnerships, implementation slows down. But here is the missing accelerator. After working across circular economy, renewable energy, health promotions, and public policy, I've come to one conclusion. Sustainable development is not only a policy challenge, it is a leadership challenge, because leaders determine whether institutions learn, whether partnerships endure, and whether good ideas become lasting systems. And that realization led us to establish HERD. We believe the future of sustainable development depends on leaders who can work across sectors, across cultures, across borders, especially female leaders whose perspectives remain underrepresented in many of the decisions shaping our economies, cities, and communities. And if institutions are the engines for development, leadership, as we see, is the fuel. Women continue to be underrepresented in political and executive decision-making globally. This is not only a question of representation, excuse me. It is a question, give me a second. It is a question of better decision-making. When leadership reflects more diverse perspectives or solutions become more inclusive, more resilient, and more responsive to the communities that we serve. The leaders of the future must think differently. They must understand systems before sectors, context before solutions, and they must think regionally while acting locally, and think globally, connect regionally while acting locally. This is the kind of leadership Southeast Asia needs. So again, the Secretary General has given us the roadmap. Singapore reminds us that institutions matter. Indonesia reminds us that implementations happen locally. Thailand reminds us that institutional investment pays dividends over generations. The Philippines reminds us that institutional renewal is possible. Now it is our responsibility to connect these lessons. As we approach 2030, perhaps the question is no longer, how many projects have we delivered? Instead, let us ask, what institutions will still be creating value long after we are gone? Because projects change communities for a moment, but institutions change them for generations. And institutions begin with leaders. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ivana. I super duper agree with you. Sustainability is a leadership challenge because they are the ones in the center of running the entire show from the ground to the regions to the globe. Thank you, Ivana. And now we are going to move to the United States. Our speaker is the Commissioner on Environment for Franklin Township in New Jersey, USA, She is Dr. Maria del Carmen Santiago. She is the founder and CEO of Calm and Mindful LLC in Somerset, New Jersey, that has helped shape a mission-driven movement that brings together education, mindfulness, sustainability, and community empowerment in ways that uplift lives and expand opportunity. Dr. Maria del Carmen Santiago is a native of Puerto Rico and a resident of New Jersey and has become a respected leader in education, research, and environmental advocacy. She earned her doctorate in education from Walden University, where her research focused on educational inclusion, social justice, and stronger teaching practices for diverse communities. Her work was recognized with Walden University's Leader of Excellence Award, and she was also selected as a Social Change Fellow at the Walden University Institute for Social Change. Welcome, Dr. Maria del Carmen Santiago.
Oh, thank you, Maribir, and thank you, Women's Federation, for World Peace International. My heart is racing. I'm very impressed with the presentations and seeing all the work that is happening at the global and national level. I need to share my PowerPoint. Okay, so let me bring this down here. And give me a second. Okay. Good morning, and those of you who are in Asia, and good evening, those who are here in Eastern Standard Time Zone. Thank you to the organizers of this high-level political forum session for the invitation to speak. This year's high-level political forum theme calls for transformative, equitable, innovative, and coordinated action on the 2030 agenda. I want to bring that theme down to the street level to show what it looks like when a single government in a township of about 70,000 people in Central Jersey, which is the population of my town, we are around between 65,000 to 75 in Franklin Township, takes the Sustainable Development Goals and turns them into ordinances, resolutions, and everyday practice. My focus is localizing climate action through the lens of 3 goals. SDG 9, which was the assignment I received from Ms. Merlia Marivir, on resilient infrastructure and innovation, SDG 11 on sustainable and resilient communities, and SDG 17 on partnerships. Because none of this happens without partnership across every level of government. Now I'm going to slide number 2. Okay, why the 2030 agenda is won or lost locally? The evidence base for this session is well known. Most SDG targets depend on implementation by subnational and local governments. Local authorities are the ones who translate global ambition into zoning, ordinances, building codes, and municipal budgets. And that's exactly most of the work that the Environmental Commission of Franklin Township does. Franklin Township's story maps onto 3 goals in particular. SDG 9 asks us to build resilient infrastructure and foster innovation. SDG 11 asks us to make our cities and settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. And the SDG 17 remind us that none of this is possible without strengthening our partners vertically with our county and state, and horizontally with our residents, watershed groups, and school districts. And partnership is a sustainable development goal that I'm listening in every presentation before me as critical in the implementation of the SDGs. In the slide 3, who we are. A quick orientation, Franklin Township is home to almost 70,000 residents, making it the largest municipality in Somerset County. There, we are 21 towns. We are one of the 29 towns in Somerset County. We are roughly an hour from New York City. It's a very diverse, vibrant community and over third of its land is already permanently preserved as open space, farmland, or historic sites. So if you visit my town, you will see that we have some rural areas and some suburban areas. Like most New Jersey municipalities, Franklin has a volunteer environmental commission. So the New Jersey Constitution allows municipalities and city councils to make an ordinance to establish an environmental commission. Not all the towns in New Jersey has an environmental commission because these appointments are made of volunteers, and we are appointed by the city council and by the mayor. We advise the city council on environmental issues. We review land use applications. We do that in every meeting. We meet twice a month, every other Monday for 2 hours at the municipal building from 7 to 9. And our meetings are recorded in YouTube and public. And we recommend policy. We do not have governance authority to make policy, but we make recommendations and we send them to the city council and the mayor. Since 2021, when I began with my township as a commissioner, it has generated a steady pipeline of resolutions. And resolutions, this is something that we can do as an environmental commission. And resolutions are ideas, projects, things, behaviors, practices that we would like to become ordinances in our town. So we send those resolutions to the city council. The city council study them and they decide if they're going to become ordinances or not, which is the law of the town or the municipality that becomes active after 20 days. That is the evidence base I want to walk through now, organized by goal. So for sustainable developmental goal number 9, I'm in slide number 4, which is the resilient infrastructure and innovation. It calls for, there are 3 concrete actions that our commission did that give you an idea of how that climate action looks at the street level. In May 2022, our council adopted the Ordinance 01022, amending our code to require electric vehicles, we call them EVs, charging and make ready infrastructure in new development and to fast track permits for EV charges at existing gas stations and retail sites. For example, if you go to a McDonald's or a Wendy in my town, you will see that there are EV stations as a result of that. We sent a resolution to the city council and the city council adopted and it became the law in the municipality. In July 2024, our council adopted our community energy plan by resolution. But that community energy plan, we had a study, a health study. And again, I'm going to revisit this again at the end because we received a grant from Sustainable Jersey. And through with that grant and also a grant from New Jersey communities, we were able to develop that energy plan and micromobility study. A plan built with a $10,000 state grant and technical support from Sustainable Jersey and paired with a micromobility study so that safe walking, biking, and low carbon transportation options are part of the infrastructure. If you visit my town, you'll see at the outskirts that we have residentials for senior citizens. And for them to go to the township or to go to their municipality offices is a little, going in and walking is far for them. So in our study, we were trying to find ways to make transportation accessible for them to the post office, to the municipal building, and the senior center. There, our environmental commission recommended amendments to our sign requiring an anti-idling signage of a township and school sites. We're still working on this. And in fact, we talked about this in our last meeting 2 Mondays ago. We have a meeting on the 20th. We have been working on this anti-idling resolution for, I would say, 2 years, and it's led by Mr. Arnold Smith. The issue what we're having is At the legislative level, this is not, I would say it's a challenge, but we are looking at what other municipalities are doing and what language are they doing and are using in the resolution so we can put one that it can be passed by the city council. And one of the legislators' advice was the more municipalities have ordinances targeting the anti-idling signage and the anti-idling, which is one of the causes of carbon emissions pollution in school sites and in retail places, it will be easier at the state level to create and make a legislation that covers the whole state, not only one town, but it will live. Well, that's strategic. Now, and a very local source of the pollutants that drive both air quality harm and greenhouse gas emissions. Now we're going to slide number 5, which is the sustainable resilient communities. SDG 11 is about making our settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. And in a coastal flood-prone state, resilient is not abstract. So in October 2023, our commission passed a resolution urging the state legislators of New Jersey not to cost corporate business tax funding that pays for open space. And also we passed a resolution about to divest pensions, supporting the pension system to divert the money from corporate carbon emissions locations. So the tax funding that pays open space, farmland, and brownfield cleanup. And when we talk about brownfield cleanup, we're talking about the super fund sites, and we have one in our town, protecting more than 1/3 of our land already preserved. Going back to August 2021, our commission called on the state system to divest, I've mentioned that before, from fossil fuels. And this is something that the state pension of teachers have been working, I would say, for like 6-7 years. And we passed a resolution and we sent a resolution to the city council for them to make an ordinance. Explicitly citing Franklin's own experience with hurricanes Irene, Sandy, and Isaias. I have to share also, we have issue with flooding as a result of a lot of impervious surfaces because we have warehouses, a proliferation of warehouses and industries in our town that we are trying to limit because that causes noise pollution and also, oh my goodness, light pollution. At this moment, we are working as we speaking with International Dark Skies. You can look that in you can Google that to reduce the light pollution of all these signatures that are in our town, because this is making this is affecting our circadian rhythm, our biodiversity, and it's making our deers confused. So you could see deers running around and being impacted by cars because they're lightning, they don't have space, they don't find forest or space to hide because this is a land, I would say, open space. Okay, and also, and our council passed a resolution supporting the New Jersey Green Amendment. The Green Amendment, I would say it happened before I moved to Franklin, I would say before COVID. And this movement started in Massachusetts and PA. We had passed a resolution in 2025. The city council adopted it. And we were one of many municipalities with that ordinance and resolution. So it became easier for the assemblymen and the senators to make an amendment in our state constitution. And now it's part of New Jersey Constitution. The importance of this Green Amendment is it sets any project or permit that is going to cause harm to biodiversity and also our lives, or impact the environment in ways that are going to cause, I would say, irreversible harm, those that sets the tone for them to be liable, and we can bring them to court. Without that Green Amendment, this part of our Constitution, state constitution, and Bill of Rights, we as humans and residents of New Jersey, we have the right to have an environment that is suitable and healthy for everyone. Then at the everyday level, our commission runs a voluntary Keep the Stuff program with local restaurants. We started, I was part of this, and my job as the Spanish-speaking person in the commission was to visit all the retailers and restaurants that where the owners spoke Spanish, and I gave them the information about that campaign. The good thing about this is before Governor Murphy left in 2025, I think one of the two last laws that he signed before leaving office was skip the stuff. So we kind of stopped the campaign, because now it's not only a municipality ordinance, now it's a state law. And skip the stuff means when you go to a retail, this is to avoid the proliferation and consumption of plastics. You want to, if the customer needs a fork, a knife, a plastic knife, or straw, or it can be done. The retailer can give that to them, but they have to request it. Usually, when we buy. We go to our fast food, they throw bunches of, there are many envelopes with ketchup or other sauces, and that end up where? That we don't use, we don't eat, and they don't on trash. So to avoid that kind of waste, to reduce that waste, that's why we work on that ordinance. Now we're going to slide number 6, partnerships for implementation.
We would like to, excuse me, Dr. Maria, can
Yes.
we wrap up already, because we are over time?
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Thank
okay,
you.
now, I think we're finishing. Okay, let me go here. Okay. Then action without partnerships. So vertically, vertically, we are partnering with the New Jersey, the NJBPU, with they co-founded the Community Energy Plan with Sustainable Jersey, and also with other commissions and school districts. Horizontally, we partner with watersheds, congregations, in order to get funding and volunteers. Now, slide number 7. Okay, let me go here so I can finish this.
Now we have some technical problem with Dr. Maria. She's frozen. Oh, now is she gone?
Looks like she
Okay.
got logged out.
She got logged out. Oh, there she is. Dr. Maria,
Yes.
you are, please wrap up already for
Okay.
your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, so how does that transfer to other municipalities? We have to give residents formal standing, what we call grassroots. They need to, and they mentioned to build the trust. New Jersey's Municipal Environmental Commission law is a simple statutory, so volunteers can be part of that. Chase co-funding, not just ambition. We cannot implement the SDGs without funding. Write goals into code, not just plans. they need to become laws. They need to become ordinances. They need to become state laws. That's how you can measure data, and those are the metrics for the United Nations, right? Goes into code, not just plans. And then anchor policy in live local risk. Our resolutions on the investment and preservation funding don't cite actual goals. They cite hurricanes. When it's important to cite examples like I have seen in all the presentations before. And I just want to finalize and say thank you for the opportunity to show what my township is doing for the implementation of the SDGs at the local level. It's a lot of
Thank you
work.
so much. Thank you very much, Dr. Maria, for sharing with us your local work. It's important and it's inspiring. And now let's move on to our next speaker from Mexico. Dr. Javier Sandoval is an urban systems modeler. This is a very technical word, but very important in urban planning and implementation. Dr. Javier Sandoval works with the College of Urban Jurisprudence International and the Habitat Professionals Forum. He is the founder of Urban Lab, an urban and territorial public policy laboratory serving the public, private, and academic sectors in Mexico and Latin America for the study and planning of cities through an urban complex systems approach. I just met him recently at the Hlpf, where he presented the human rights cartography. And that blew my mind away because it was very integrative of people's human rights and how government can institutionalize programs and legislation in order to ensure it, and he has placed it on a map. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Javier Sandoval.
Thank you,
you Dr. Sandoval, for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Can I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Let me share. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank the Women's Federations for World Peace International. Thank you, Maribel, and thank you very much, Mary. I'm very excited to show this presentation on how we can go from theory to practice regarding the right to the city. I would like to start by saying that at CGUR, we are working on what we are calling a new urban paradigm with three pillars. The first one is a human rights-based legal urbanism. Secondly, an integral vision of the territory. And last, urban social justice. And it's a pleasure for me to present some concrete examples of how we can transfer these pillars to what we are called here urban development programs or plans. The first with a human rights cartography, as Maribel just said. The second one with a rights network. And the third one with a citizens urban simulator that we have just designed. And I would like to tell about it at the end of these presentations, and I'm trying to be brief. This is a somewhat technical presentation because it's a way how we can bring to practice what we all have been hearing about. The base for the cartography of human rights and for the rights network, it's a matrix. It's a matrix that is built with the people. And the first step is to know from the people, to have some questions so that at the end of these exercises of the people who live in the area on which we are making these urban plans can tell us what are the critical factors that influence the current state of the territory. So it will vary from region to region. That is very important. It's not a generic exercise. So what I'm showing here on screen is a very simplistic example of what I'm saying. Let's say that the list of critical factors are the rows. So in the zone that we're going to show, Some critical factors are drought. We have very scarce water. There is a river that crosses the urban area, a stream. Another factors are natural vegetation, low density population. There is a red light district, lack of pedestrian infrastructure, etc. With this list, we make a matrix so we can compare the impacts that each critical factor has on human rights. So the human rights are the columns and the critical factors are the rows. For example, drought impacts human right number 1, 4, 5, and 7. I'm saying them as numbers right now for a generic example. And this is the base of what we are talking about. To make this cartography, the most important thing is that we can express those critical factors into space, into maps, into polygons. In this matter, we have a map of areas affected by drought. We have a polygon of the stream. We have polygons of vegetation. We have identified polygons of where is the lowest density in the city, etc. We can apply this selection of maps to a single human right. Let's say, for example, that human right number 1 is the right to the city. If we want to know the current state of the human rights, we must first identify what critical factors are impacting them through this matrix. We then make an overlay cartography of these several maps, and we have a result like this. This is a map of the right to the city that is a sum of all the critical factors that are affecting this right. The critical factors we get them from people, and also the people try to identify which critical factor is impacting which human right. This is a street light interpretation. That means that the harder or the redder the color, the human right is more vulnerable. And the green doesn't mean that it is perfect, that it is okay. It only means that compared to the most red or most impacted, that is the area less impacted by that human right. I can show you another example. Here is the cartography of the map to the right to a healthy environment. For example, for this map, we accounted for where our industries are located, where our trash located, many critical factors that together people think, and with specialists also reviewing this matrix, impact the right to a healthy environment. Now, this is very important. I think is very relevant, because this way we can now know in which parts of the city each human right is more impacted. And also it can give us some beginning ideas of what type of projects are needed. This is a real life example. This is an urban this is called a partial urban development program for the city of Ensenada, Mexico. This is an official document. It has been published. And I think we think at TYR, we haven't seen another example of urban planning anywhere. And we're very happy to show these results with you. This is a cartography of human rights. Now, going back to the matrix, there is another product that comes from it. For example, in the previous matrix, let's say drought impacts human right number 1. That is a relation. That is a relation. The critical factor is symbolized as a blue box, and the human right as an orange circle. So there is a line from drought to human rights. That's only one relation of impact. Imagine we have a list of in real life for this exercise of around 60 critical factors and a great number of human rights. So the real life exercise that resulted from this is this network, this human rights network. Now, this human rights network, we think is very important, not only because visually it shows how interrelated are urban critical factors with human rights. This, again, I want to stress out that the critical factors were mentioned by the people who live in this zone of the city of Ensenada, Mexico, but also it reveals a non-trivial relations between critical factors and human rights. It is very interesting because when people are making the exercise, they don't think of the whole network, how it all relates to each other. Each one tries to make the ratings and put what the critical factors are, etc. And when we add it all together as a natural structure emerges, what can we do with this network? Well, we can do some basic things, but very important things, because, for example, we can know which human right is more impacted. In the context of a network, critical factors and human rights are nodes, and the lines are connections between them. That means that in this network that we are seeing, the biggest the circle is, it means that the more impact is receiving from the rest of the environment of the network. The same way, the bigger the blue square it is, the bigger the number of relations it has with the rest of the human rights. In this matter, we have a first interpretation. We can, if we can make zoom to the nodes, to the bigger ones, to see which are most impacted, or the critical factors that are more relevant, that is a way to interpret the network. But applying algorithms to this network, we can identify also clusters of relations. What are these clusters? Clusters are critical factors and human rights that are very, very closely interacting with each other and less with the network. So by approximately by the experiences we are having in a network, there normally arises about 6 to 7 clusters, each one very interrelated and very different from one city to another. Now, this is the network for the city of Ensenada. I would like to show you how we are applying this to an urban development program. This is for the city of Mazatlan, also in Mexico. This is a real life example of an urban development program. We try to avoid in this urban development program a very heavy diagnostic with many pages of many technical specifications. Normally, diagnostics, it's around 200. I have just elaborated a state program. It has more than 500 pages of only diagnostics. So in this example specifically that I'm showing right now, we only made five network analysis cards. 5 pages. And if you wanted to know more about it, you go to a numbers specifying the card to see more details. This card, it is intended so someone who has to make a fast choice or want to know strictly what is more relevant to take account into a decision, these cards can be helpful. These cards have a cluster description. You can see in the upper part, it's a very, very brief descriptions of how the nodes are interrelated into each other. In this case, the bigger node is urban expansion, in this card in particular. And you can see the green nodes how are related in this cluster. You can see land use changes, the loss of natural space, and so on. So you can have a cluster description, you see the cluster. Below, there is a relevant data section, very, very brief part. We try to show numeric data. And to the other side, we see how the cluster relates to the rest of the system. In this matter, each person that looks at this network can even have their own conclusions on how this is working. And I think it's better than just reading paragraphs, is that you see how the network is interconnected, the size of the nodes and all that. And at the final part of this analysis card, there is a place of suggested actions, projects, etc. I repeat, 5 pages only, one network analysis per page. And if you wanted to know more, you read the cluster description, and it's, for example, if it says water in the description about something, water is closed in brackets in one number, and you go to the last part of the document, you search for that number that applies to water, and it's now, yes, in there, a long description of water and data and all that, but this is a very brief description. So this is a network, rights network. And the third part, and lastly, just to finish my presentations, the matrix is also a foundation for it to understand the urban system. And this is a citizens urban simulator for public participation. This is according to the International Participatory Charter, principle number 10, that states promoting the sharing of knowledge demands share and equal access to knowledge, including harnessing the potential of digital technologies through an integrated open data framework and linked digital tools with public consultations functions. So this was, as a matter of fact, this is used in a public consultation. Last year, I was making an urban development program of a city in Mexico that is called San Quintín, Mexico. And you can see a picture of people in the consultation. And on the right side, you can see a table in which we implemented this urban simulator. This urban simulator was a design of a software to make it the most easy use by any people, any person that wanted to participate, and they could, I would use the word, they could play with the city, with their city that is shown in the computer. You can play with urban policies. You can play with what happens if there is more or less urban control. What happens if there is low or higher density? What happens if we urbanize more or less lots? And I was very excited to hear from the woman that you see in the picture in red. She is a community teacher, and she identified her home in the map. And she started to interpret the results of the simulation with what is happening around her. There was a vacant lot, and she used so she could urbanize it and see what could happen. And she told me, she started to talk about a lot of things that she learned through the use of the simulator, not because I was telling her, but because she used the simulator. Lastly, I would just like to show the interface.
We need to wrap up, Dr. Sandoval.
Yes.
Because we still have 2 more speakers. We were doing overtime.
Okay, sorry. So this is the urban interface. I was going to explain it, but it's a very simple thing to use, but I will skip it, and I will just thank you for your attention. I will be attentive to your comments. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you for that inspiring and very scientific, but very grounded project that is going on right now in Mexico. Thank you for your intervention, Dr. Sandoval. We still have 2 more speakers, ladies and gentlemen. This means this is going to stretch for a few more minutes, maybe 15 minutes, and then we do the QA. So now I'd like to introduce our next speaker from the Philippines, Professor Juvie Del Monte. She is an educator, community leader, and content creator based in the Philippines. She is an instructor at the Technological University of the Philippines and serves as the NCR president of the Women's Federation for World Peace International Philippines. Let's welcome Jovi Del Monte. Professor, please welcome and good evening. Good morning.
Thank you
here in
very
Pinas.
much. Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Parivir. I'm truly inspired by our previous speakers. So inspired that I'm getting a healthy dose of butterflies right now. But in all seriousness, I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to be here and to learn from such brilliant minds. So let me just share my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Thank you. So okay. So once again, good day to all our distinguished guests, partners, participants from around the world, and fellow advocates for sustainable development. It is truly an honor to be part of this parallel event organized by the WFWP International UN Relations Office. And my heartfelt thanks also to Ms. Marley Barlaan for inviting me and for making WFWP Philippines a co-sponsor of this meaningful gathering. It's truly a privilege to share with you the key grassroots accomplishments of the WFWP Philippines, our challenges, and our hopes for the future. So as we gather under the theme of transformative, equitable, innovative, and coordinated actions for the 2030 agenda, I am reminded that sustainable development is not just a global commitment. It is a daily effort unfolding in neighborhoods, schools, workplaces, communities across the world, and most especially in the hearts of women and youth who continue to believe in a better tomorrow. So again, my name is Juve Del Monte, and I am an educator. I'm currently teaching at the Technological University of the Philippines, Manila, and I also serve as the newly appointed president of the WFWP Philippines. And with that, I would like first to honor Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, whose vision and leadership founded the Women's Federation for World Peace. Her belief that women carry a unique, irreplaceable capacity to nurture peace has inspired millions across the world. Her leadership reminds us that when women rise, communities rise. When mothers lead, nations heal. And when women work together, peace becomes possible. Her vision continues to guide our mission here in the Philippines. And over the past years, WFWP Philippines has worked tirelessly to strengthen communities through peace building, health programs, environmental advocacy, digital empowerment, and strategic partnerships. So allow me to share some of the milestones that reflect our commitment to the sustainable development. So one of our most meaningful steps forward is our growing network of partnerships aligned with SDG 17 Partnerships for the Goals. So a major highlight is our signing of Memorandum of Understanding with Mindanao State University at Naawan, where we formalized a shared mission to expand peace education and community empowerment. So this partnership opens doors for deeper engagement in Mindanao, one of the Philippines' three major island regions. And for decades, communities there have endured conflict, including the Marawi siege in 2017, which cost many lives and livelihoods. Yet, despite these hardships, the people of Mindanao continue to strive day by day for lasting peace and stability. So through this collaboration, we hope to humbly support their ongoing efforts to build harmony, resilience, and sustainable development in the region. We also continue to strengthen communities through our health and social development programs aligned with SDG 11, Sustainable Cities, and communities. So last March, we conducted simultaneous sessions on like HIV awareness, moral recovery, and a blood donation drive, engaging around 250 students under the theme Caring, Sharing, and Saving Lives, which beautifully reflects the heart of this initiative. Our commitment to community well-being goes beyond awareness activities. We are actually pursuing a formal partnership with the partner hospital for this event to provide practical benefits such as discounted checkups and laboratory services. So for many families, affordable healthcare is not just helpful, it is essential. So through these efforts, we affirm a simple truth that when we invest in the health of our people, we strengthen the foundation of our communities. And when communities are healthy, they become more resilient, more empowered, and better prepared to shape a sustainable future for all. Another initiative is the Digital Bridges for Peace conducted last September 2024. So this is a symposium that explored how digital tools can build understanding and peaceful online communities. So digital literacy now is no longer optional. It is essential for livelihood, education, and civic participation. So one of the highlights of the event was the discussion on the reconciliation of the Korean Peninsula, and participants were encouraged to use digital tools to promote peace, understanding, and dialogue across communities. So by bringing together people from different sectors, the symposium showed how partnerships can help close digital gaps and inspire responsible, peace-building engagement online. So this reflects the spirit of SDG 17, proving that when we work together, we can build more inclusive and peaceful digital spaces. So those are some initiatives of the WFWP Philippines. Now we are also preparing to launch Blue Harvest, a sustainable ocean-based livelihood program. So this project will focus on the Mindanao region where many communities rely on aquaculture and marine resources. So during the MOU signing with Mindanao State University, they shared that one of the most urgent challenges in their area is food security. So they said that many students attend classes on an empty stomach, which affects not only their well-being, but also their academic performance. They express a strong desire to introduce programs as part of our partnership that equip communities with practical skills in developing marine products. So they envision a concept called fish to peace, emphasizing that peace cannot flourish when hunger persists. So by strengthening ocean-based livelihoods, the project aims to reduce economic vulnerability and promote community stability. Now, alongside this,
Professor Jovi, we are can we compress our presentation because we are really over time right now.
Yes po.
Yeah,
Let me
thank
just
you.
finish this. These are only three upcoming initiatives. So our
Mhm.
capacity training for violence against women and children, or VAUC desk officers, is also currently in progress. So this effort aims to strengthen local protection system for women and children, especially at the barangay level where support is most needed. So we are working closely with the DILG, or the Department of Interior and Local Government, and several experts to design and deliver this training. And lastly, through Tech to Progress, we aim to equip women and youth with the digital skills they need to access livelihood opportunities and build confidence in a fast-changing world. So this accomplishment and upcoming projects of WFWP Philippines reflect one clear message, and that is sustainable development is only possible when we work together. So, but of course, alongside these accomplishments and plans, we face real challenges too. And one of the challenges is that our funding remains limited. Many communities request our support, but we cannot reach them all. And also another challenge we encounter is the sustainability of projects, like when local leadership changes, priorities often shift. And so the programs that were once supported may lose momentum and continuity becomes difficult. However, these challenges do not discourage us. They remind us that our work is needed more than ever. And this is where partnership becomes vital. So to end, may we all be reminded that together we can do more, together we can reach farther, and together we can build the future our children deserve. Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much. And may our shared efforts bring lasting peace and sustainable progress to every community we serve.
Thank you very much, Professor Jovi Del Monte, for your sharing of the work of Women's Federation, important work on the ground. And now, last but not least, I'd like to call in the Women's Federation for World Peace International Vice President and UN Relations Director, Ms. Merly Barlaan, for a brief sharing of the projects on permaculture in the Philippines and the US, and to officially close. Oh, not yet, not close. We're still doing QA. So take it away, Twin.
Thank you, Twin. Wow, this is so enriching. I'm very inspired. And if we could have an all-day conversation, I think, it will speed up the achievement of the SDGs. However, we are constrained with time. I would just like to briefly share our SDG 13 and SDG 4, SDG 1, and SDG 17 project on centering on permaculture education, the anchoring to the human rights to clean, healthy, and sustainable environment, and grounding it to the community. I feel like without showing and without implementing it in the community, one can never really see the tail end of our SDGs, the goals. And yeah, I will do it very quickly. I'm just gonna, okay, say share. Okay. Okay, this is our Asia Pacific Peace Education Center. We aim to have about 6 of these, each one in every continent. But right now we have this model in the Philippines. It's a practical partnership model for women leadership, food security, nutrition, and climate resilience. And in 2026, we want to address the transformation of food systems and supply chains, which are breaking down and addressing women food security. And then, well, our story. We're very active. And in fact, we just came back from the Philippines for our first permaculture summit. We had our approach is bottom-up framework shaped by community realities in the Philippines. We listen first, we train locally, organize women, activate the youth, create ownership. We bring our international leadership across our network, 128 national chapters. We create tours and bring them to an educational tour on how climate resilience in the community is really happening, and that we do it together with local government, the municipal agriculture office, and the Department of Agriculture in Bohol and in Carmen, the municipality of Carmen, and the local leadership. And so we've been doing this for the last 5 years, but only in the last 2 years that we have gained traction and international traction and interest. So right now we have, in my village alone, we have 35 farmers who have gained the certification of permaculture design thinking, and these are farmers, and we gave them scholarship to the UP Open University on permaculture design thinking. And this is they are productive. They are doing vlogs of their increased production in their farming. So women gain agency, food became more local, nutrition improves, youth see pathways of being attracted to farming and agriculture rather than just purely on technology and city urban life. And so partnership, invest in women-led learning hubs. We back youth pathways in food systems and scale through partnerships. This is how we are seeking partnership and actively promoting permaculture, and not just in Philippines, but also bringing it here in New Jersey, in the US. It's not necessarily on farms and food production, but it's on New Jersey Pharmacy and Peace Garden. It's planting, creating gardens with herbs and medicinal effect. It's a community organized, nature-based, homegrown solutions towards health, healing, happiness, and higher consciousness. It's a project of our Women's Federation Global Peace Ambassadors. And actually, I want to invite you. Here's the registration link, the QR code. It's happening on July the 25th. It's in New Jersey. If you want to participate, no, you don't need to registration fee, but please bring a pot of herbal medicine, herbal plant. So we are going to plant together, and we have many fun activities. Yeah, this is our project, and we encourage our stakeholders and supporters to invest in women-led regenerative food systems, eradicate hunger, promote environmental stewardship, health, and higher consciousness. And that's it for me. And for my closing, do I need to do closing for now, or do we have
We have QA.
questions?
What is
QA,
the
yeah, QA
what is
first,
the
and then
feeling of the people here? Do you still want to stay for
we have
questions?
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Okay, so I will shoot the first question. Thank you, Twin, for your input on our projects on permaculture and climate action. This question goes to ARD Evelyn Castro. In the many years that you're working with civil society and now with government, ARD Evelyn, can you make a comparison if the Filipino legislators and leaders, sustainability leaders have increased or improved their expertise and their impact on the ground? Or is there a rollback? Is there sadly a flipping backwards? Thank you.
That's a very loaded question. There are many aspects to what you would like to see.
Loaded question.
Loaded in the sense that we cannot simply assess how things are right now by simply looking at one criterion, right? From a policy perspective, of course, there's always there are many legislations. In fact, in terms of environmental protection, the challenge, and in fact also emphasized earlier by Ambassador De Leon, is really in terms of enforcement and implementation, right? That's where the gap is always. I think we have, a plethora of policies. And in fact, things like this are available. It's really the implementation. The question you had earlier about whether there's more traction or there's a slowing down of environmental action at the local level. In the case of Cebu, this is very particular to me because in the past, the NGO civil society action and advocacy was very strong. Over the last few years, that has not been the same. So to me, I would see that as a slowing down. You don't see before you had very strong organizations really pushing for environmental protection, watershed management, biodiversity conservation, but that has somehow diminished over the course of maybe 10, 50 years. I guess also because there's a change in leadership, one of the challenges, particularly in civil society NGO work, is of course sustainability. How do you sustain the kind of work that we do? I mean, when I was part of civil society, given that resources are limited. And then, of course, you have changes in leadership as well. So, loaded question, Mary Beer. I have a very long answer if you qualify it by criteria. So, at least for now, I would say that one, we are really definitely lacking in terms of enforcement and implementation, even as a clear example, waste management. Urbanization has, overtaken the work that needs to be done. The gains that may have been achieved over the last few years can easily be diminished because of many things, disruptions, typhoons, the likes. So yes, there has been some work, but there's some slowing down. There's a need for better enforcement and stronger and more robust implementation, and definitely the need for leadership, the need for a more active citizenry engaged in the various work that we do. Environment protection is only one of the elements that we would like really strong participation among the people, the community, and of course, really translating it to policy and importantly, action. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ARD Nacario Castro. So now a question for Dr. Sandoval from Ms. Merly Barlaan. Is this matrix adopted by the city already as a guide? Is it improving the delivery and accountability expected from urban city planners?
Yes, that is a very hard question also. There is a good thing and there is let's see, a sad thing. The good thing is that it's public policy. Here in Mexico, when we say that a document is published, it is now taken as law. and it must be followed by any government, whatever political party there is in the current moment. So the good thing is that it is public policy. The not so good thing is that we have recently changed political parties, and I have even a doubt that if even they know this chart exists, even though it is published and is public public policy. But what we are doing right now, according to our experience, is that projects that have the longest lifespan are those projects that have a citizen counterpart. So because if it's only published but people don't know about these public policies, it's not so good. But we have some examples that if we accompany these public policies with people that are going to track the development of these public policies, they are guaranteed that they can go to live further and passes through political parties that are current in states. So it is not totally implemented yet. It's a public policy, but we are doing right now, what we're doing right now is working with the people so they can make it their own, so they can follow it across time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sandoval. I see there are no more questions, and it's like 10:01. We're super over time. We would like to close this conference, and personally, I'd like to thank you for extending your time with us, and I hope you learned something and inspired as well, and are inspired as well. I'd like to call in back again the UN Relations Director, Ms. Merly Barlan, to formally close our event. And please open your window so we can do a group picture.
Thank
Twin,
you.
please come
Thank you
in.
to our moderators doing an excellent job of juggling the speeches, managing the videos, and thank you. And she organized the communications. So big thanks to you, Dr. Mariver Montibon. And to close, I'd like to thank all of our presenters for sharing practical experiences from the Philippines, Southeast Asia, Mexico, and the United States. Across the presentations, one message stands out: global commitments must be translated into locally owned, community-driven action, collaboration, and creating alliances. The high-level political forum of 2026 calls for a transformative, equitable, and innovative and coordinated action. And transformation will come when evidence is combined with local wisdom, ecological responsibility, and women's leadership. So let us move forward from analysis to action, from food dependency to greater community resilience, and from local commitment to local cultivation. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And I look forward to our substantial partnership beyond this virtual room into our communities so that substantially we can achieve the SDGs together. Have a good night, good morning, and good day, everyone. God bless
Everybody. Thank you, Twin. Everybody smile first with the camera. And Catherine, can you take our group shot, please? Show your smile, your international smile.
Yes.
Global
One
smile, local smile. Thank you, Dr. Ederlinda Fernandez, for joining us. Everybody, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful evening.
I want to recognize, Twin, before we close, I want to recognize Madame Therese Tomo. She is the president of the United Nations African Mothers Association. And so these are the Association of the Ambassadors' Wives. So thank you, Madame Therese, for your support to our event, even though it's already 10 p.m. here in New York. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Evelyn.
everybody. This is not the last. We will be in touch with Dr. Sandoval.
Sandoval, Ivana,
Dr.
Maria, Santiago, Dr.
Maria, Santiago,
and
ARD
Jovi,
Castro. We will work together.
Everyone, thank you. And to our own UN representatives here in New York, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Priscilla and Maria.
Thank you,
everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
See you
Dr.
around.
Remy, you're there. Yes.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.